I choose Maya. I want her to be my mother. Lily's clear, unwavering voice cut through the polite chatter of the grand hall, stopping conversations mid-sentence. Her small finger pointed past the three elegant women standing before her, toward the young black maid in the navy uniform, who had just entered with a cleaning tray in her hands. No, Lily, that filthy black maid will never be allowed to be your mother. Michael Harrington's voice thundered through the grand hall, silencing the clinking of crystal glasses and freezing every conversation mid-sentence. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The chandeliers blazed overhead, illuminating the 10-year-old girl in a pale blue dress, standing with her small hands clenched into fists. Lily's gaze was locked on Maya William, the young black maid in the navy uniform who had paused in the doorway with a cleaning tray in her hands. The three models, standing just a few feet from Lily, exchanged looks of barely disguised contempt. The blonde in silver stepped forward, her lips curling. This is ridiculous. That woman cleans toilets, Lily. Do you think your mother would have wanted that? She flicked her eyes toward Maya as though she were something stuck to her shoe. The brunette in emerald leaned in, her voice dripping venom. Look at her. Grease on her hands, dust in her hair. She's nothing but a servant. You want someone like her teaching you how to be a lady? The tallest, wearing crimson silk, smirked with icy cruelty. People like her come from dirt and stay in dirt. I'm sure her mother scrubbed floors too if she even had one worth speaking of. Pathetic. Maya's eyes darkened, her jaw tightening. She could handle the insults aimed at her. She had heard them before, in whispers and stares, but when they dragged her family into it, something inside her snapped. She stepped forward, voice low but shaking with controlled fury. You don't talk about my mother. You don't talk about the people I love. Ever. The models gave a mocking chorus of laughter. Oh, how noble, the one in crimson sneered. Defending your little maid's honor, Lily? This is a world of class, money, and status, not fairy tales. Michael's patience broke. With a sudden, violent motion, he snatched the crystal glass from the table and hurled it across the space. It struck Maya on the side of the head, shattering into a spray of water and glass. A sharp gasp filled the room as she stumbled back, clutching her temple, warm blood seeping through her fingers. Get out of my house, Michael roared, his face flushed with rage. You're finished here, Maya. Pack your things and be gone before morning. If you feel for this character, like this video and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. You might be surprised to find someone nearby watching along with you. Lily's voice cracked like a whip through the tension. No, you can't do that. She's my family. Tears streamed down her cheeks, her small body trembling. Michael ignored her, wrapping his hand firmly around Lily's arm. Enough. You've embarrassed me enough for one night. He dragged her toward the grand staircase. No. Let me go. I want Maya. I want her. Lily's cries echoed through the hall as guests turned away, pretending not to see. Maya stood frozen, her heart pounding, blood still dripping onto the polished marble. She wanted to run to Lily, to tell her it was going to be all right, but Michael's glare warned her it would only make things worse. Upstairs, in the gilded bedroom, Lily sobbed into her pillow. She's always there for me, she choked out. When I'm sick. When I can't sleep. When you're not home. Michael stood at the window, staring out into the city lights, his jaw set. Go to sleep, Lily. This discussion is over. The next morning, the winter sun gleamed cold over the Harrington estate. Lily, restless and hollow-eyed from crying, wandered outside into the garden. She drifted toward the pond at the edge of the grounds, where thin ice clung to the water's surface. She sat on the stone edge, kicking at a loose pebble, her mind far away. Her foot slipped. There was a splash, a scream, and icy water swallowed her small frame. From across the lawn, Maya heard the scream. She didn't think, didn't pause. She sprinted, her boots pounding the frozen grass, and dove into the frigid water. The shock stole her breath, but she grabbed Lily's arm and hauled her toward the bank, pulling with every ounce of strength she had. By the time Michael arrived, Maya was kneeling in the mud, wrapping her coat around the shivering girl. Lily clung to her, sobbing into her shoulder. Michael froze, the image searing into him, his daughter's desperate grip on the woman he had thrown out the night before. His chest tightened with something far heavier than pride. Guilt. For the first time, he saw past the uniform, past the prejudice, and into the truth. Maya wasn't just an employee. She was the one person who had been there for Lily every moment he hadn't. Michael's voice cracked when he finally spoke. Maya, He stopped, swallowed, then tried again. I was wrong. Deeply wrong. About you. About what matters. I can't take back last night, but I can tell you I'm sorry. For the words. For the glass. For all of it. He turned to Lily, brushing damp hair from her forehead. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I let my pride hurt the two people who matter most. Looking back at Maya, his voice steadied. If you'll allow it, I want you to stay, not as the help, but as Lily's full-time caregiver, with proper pay, benefits, and the respect you deserve. I should have seen it before she needs you. Maya hesitated, searching his face for any trace of condescension. She saw none, only a man stripped of his arrogance, humbled by what he almost lost. She nodded slowly, still holding Lily close. Lily's tear-streaked face broke into the first smile she'd had since the night before. So she can stay? Really stay? Michael nodded. She can stay, for as long as she'll have us. Huh. And for the first time in years, the Harrington estate felt just a little warmer. The winter light spilled into the Harrington estate like a quiet apology, glinting off the frost that clung to the manicured hedges. Inside, the house was unusually still. The staff moved quietly, avoiding the master's study where Michael Harrington had spent much of the night pacing, nursing a half-empty glass of scotch he'd never finished. Lily was still asleep in her room, curled up against the warm quilt Maya had wrapped around her after the rescue. Maya had stayed most of the night, in the chair beside the bed, keeping vigil like a sentinel. Her uniform was gone. Instead, she wore a simple gray sweater and dark jeans. The bandage on her temple from the glass cut peeked through her hair, a small but sharp reminder of what had happened only hours before. When Lily stirred, the first thing she saw was Maya's face. You didn't leave, she whispered, her voice raw from the previous day's crying. I told you, Maya said softly, brushing a stray curl from the girl's forehead. I'm not going anywhere. Lily's lips curled into the faintest smile before she sank back into the pillow. For the first time in months, she fell back asleep easily. Downstairs, Michael stood by the kitchen counter, a steaming mug of coffee in his hands. He had called the board early that morning, canceling a meeting he'd been preparing for all week. His mind was elsewhere, still replaying the sight of Maya dragging Lily out of the freezing pond, the sound of his daughter's sobs against Maya's shoulder. The retired judge, an old family friend who had witnessed last night's chaos, stopped by unannounced. I came to see how the girl's doing, he said, stepping inside with the slow, deliberate movements of a man in his 70s. She's fine, Michael replied, his voice quieter than usual. Sleeping. The judge studied him for a moment. You look like a man who's had a mirror held up to him. Michael let out a humorless laugh. Something like that. I told you last night a child's truth sees further than a man's pride. The judge's eyes softened. Don't waste the chance to listen. Upstairs, Maya gently closed Lily's bedroom door and headed toward the kitchen, intending to fix a light breakfast. She stopped short when she saw Michael standing there. He turned, as if sensing her presence, and for a moment neither of them spoke. You're injured, he said finally, glancing at her bandage. I'll be fine, she answered. The cut's nothing compared to what could have happened if Lily had been out there longer. Michael set down his coffee. I meant what I said last night. I want you to stay, but not just as staff. I want you to have what you need to take care of her the way you've been doing all along, without having to look over your shoulder. Her arms folded across her chest, not in defiance but in defense. And when the gossip starts again, when the models and your board start whispering that I'm not enough for Lily's world, Michael's jaw tightened. Then I'll tell them the truth that without you, I might have lost my daughter twice. Once to grief, and once to the water yesterday. Maya searched his face for insincerity and found none. She nodded, though her voice was steady. It's not about money, Mr. Harrington. It's about respect. If I stay, I need to know Lily will be protected from the looks, the words, the cruelty. You have my word, he said firmly. No one will treat you the way I did last night, ever again. They were interrupted by the sound of hurried footsteps. Lily came bounding down the stairs in her slippers, eyes still sleepy but her smile wide. "Maya, can we have pancakes?" she asked, as though the past day had been nothing more than a bad dream. Maya glanced at Michael, who gave a slight nod. "Pancakes it is," she said, moving toward the stove. As the scent of butter and maple syrup filled the kitchen, the tension eased slightly. Lily sat at the counter, chattering about the dream she'd had, and Maya listened as if every word mattered. Michael watched from a distance, realizing how rare it was for his home to feel alive like this. Later that morning, the peace was disrupted by the arrival of Patricia Crane, the PR consultant for Harrington Holdings. She swept into the room with the urgency of someone who dealt in crises for a living. "Michael, we need to talk," she said, eyeing Maya briefly before focusing on him. "Last night's incident is all over social media, and the rescue this morning, it's trending too." Michael braced himself. "How bad?" Patricia hesitated, pulling out her tablet. "Bad for your image as a ruthless businessman, but good for you as a human being. People are calling Maya a hero. The footage of her pulling Lily from the pond is everywhere." She looked at Maya. "Whether you like it or not, the public loves you right now." Maya blinked, startled. "Footage?" Patricia nodded. "Security cameras on the estate. Someone leaked it. It's got millions of views." Michael's brow furrowed. "Then we'll control the narrative. We'll make it clear Maya is part of this family." Patricia raised an eyebrow. "Are you ready for that level of commitment, Michael? Once you say it publicly, there's no taking it back." "I know," he said without hesitation. After Patricia left, the house felt different. Michael realized this wasn't just about smoothing over a scandal, it was about taking a stand. That evening, they had dinner together in the smaller dining room. It was the first time in years Michael had sat at the same table with Lily for a weekday meal. Maya served roasted chicken and vegetables, and Lily insisted everyone hold hands before eating. Michael cleared his throat. "Lily, I need you to hear this from me. I'm sorry for last night, for the way I treated Maya, and for not seeing what you've been trying to tell me. Maya is staying here, not just to work, but because she belongs here, because she's family." Lily's eyes lit up, and she squeezed Maya's hand. "I knew you'd see it." Maya smiled faintly, though her eyes glistened. "Thank you, Mr. Harrington." "Michael," he corrected quietly. "Call me Michael." The three of them ate in a comfortable silence after that, each in their own way, coming to terms with the shift that had begun. Outside, the city lights glimmered, but for once, the world inside the Harrington estate felt warmer than anything beyond its gates. As Lily recounted a story from school, Michael realized something he hadn't felt in years' hope. It wasn't the kind that came from business victories or lavish deals. It was quieter, humbler, but infinitely more valuable. It was the hope of building something real, starting with the people who were already right in front of him. 2 days after the pond incident, the Harrington estate was back to its usual rhythm on the surface, but underneath, an invisible tension hummed. The gossip from the night of the gala had not completely died down. Michael's phone was flooded with messages from associates, some offering cautious congratulations for doing the right thing, others warning him that keeping Maya so publicly close was a risky look for a man in your position. He deleted most without answering. Maya kept her focus on Lily. They spent the mornings in the library, reading from the same worn storybook Lily's mother used to read. In the afternoons, they walked through the winter garden, bundled in scarves and hats. It was quiet, almost peaceful until the past decided to knock on the door. That knock came on a gray Thursday afternoon. Maya was in the kitchen chopping vegetables for soup when she heard voices at the front door, sharp, feminine, and familiar. When she stepped into the hallway, she froze. The 3 models from the gala were standing in the entryway, draped in designer coats, their expressions smug. Michael had not invited them. "What are you doing here?" Michael's voice carried from the doorway, low and edged. "We came to make peace," the blonde in silver said, her tone syrupy but her eyes glinting. "After all, the press is buzzing, and we thought we could help control the story. We're part of your circle, Michael." The brunette in emerald's gaze slid over to Maya, lingering with mockery. "And we thought we might remind you that not everyone is thrilled about your new arrangement." Maya gripped the wooden spoon in her hand tighter, saying nothing. The woman in crimson took a step forward, her smile a slash of red. "Let's be honest. You can dress her up, Michael, but she's still what she is. Do you really think the other CEOs will let their kids play with Lily if her mother figure is someone who used to scrub their floors? Her voice lowered, the venom sharper. Women like her come from nothing and they drag you down with them, just like her own mother did, no doubt. Maya's heart thudded in her chest. She felt the sting of the insult more than she wanted to admit, but it wasn't for herself, it was for her late mother, a woman who had worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table, who had taught Maya to stand tall no matter what. You don't talk about my mother, Maya said, her voice steady but rising in force. You don't talk about my life like you know it, and you certainly don't speak to me like I'm dirt in my own home. In your home? The blonde scoffed. Careful, darling. You're just an employee. Enough. Michael's voice cut through the air like a whip. He stepped between Maya and the women, his jaw tight. You've made your point, and now you can leave. Michael, you're trying to stir trouble, he snapped, and I won't have it. Maya is part of this family now. If you can't respect that, you're not welcome here. The 3 women exchanged glances, their arrogance faltering for the first time. The one in crimson gave Maya a look of pure disdain before turning on her heel. This won't last, she muttered as they left. When the door shut, the silence was heavy. Michael turned to Maya. I'm sorry you had to hear that again. I've heard worse, she said quietly, returning to the kitchen. But her hands shook slightly as she resumed chopping. That evening, Lily noticed the tension. What happened? She asked over dinner. Just some people who don't understand, Maya said gently. Nothing for you to worry about. Lily frowned. If they don't understand, then they're the ones with the problem, not us. Michael caught Maya's eye across the table. It struck him how easily Lily cut through the noise of adult pride and prejudice. The next morning, Michael made a call to his PR consultant, Patricia. I want to hold a small press conference, he said. At the estate. I'll make it clear where I stand. Patricia hesitated. It's bold. You're going to make enemies in certain circles. I already have, he replied. I'd rather have the right ones. 2 days later, the east lawn of the Harrington estate was set up with a podium and rows of chairs. Journalists and photographers arrived, their breath visible in the cold air. Maya stood with Lily on the side, her hands resting protectively on the girl's shoulders. Michael stepped to the microphone, his voice steady but firm. Many of you know about the incident at the gala and about the events that followed. There's been speculation, gossip, and frankly, prejudice. I'm here to put it to rest. Maya William is not the help. She is family. She is the person my daughter trusts most in the world, and she has saved Lily's life not just once, but in ways that don't make the headlines. She will remain in this home as Lily's full-time caregiver, with my full support and respect. The cameras clicked rapidly. A few reporters shouted questions, but Michael raised a hand. That's all I have to say on the matter. Those who can't accept it are free to walk away from my life. As the press conference ended, Maya felt a swirl of emotions, pride, relief, and a cautious hope. She glanced at Michael, who gave her a small nod before turning to lead Lily back inside. Later that night, when the house was quiet, Maya sat by the fireplace with Lily asleep beside her. She thought about the model's words, about the world outside these walls that might never fully accept her. But she also thought about Michael's public stand, and the way Lily's small hand had tightened around hers during the press conference. For the first time since arriving at the Harrington estate years ago, Maya allowed herself to believe she might truly belong. And that belief, fragile as it was, felt like the start of something neither gossip nor prejudice could tear down. The days after the press conference brought a strange calm to the Harrington estate. The media storm quieted, at least on the surface. Maya noticed fewer whispers from the household staff, and even the gardeners seemed to meet her eyes more readily. But Michael knew the quiet could be deceptive. Power in his world wasn't lost in shouts, it was chipped away in private meetings, in hushed phone calls, in subtle exclusions. On a crisp Saturday morning, Maya was in the conservatory with Lily, helping her repot a small lemon tree. The girl's fingers were covered in soil, her laughter spilling out as Maya teased her about making farmer hands. It was one of those small, ordinary moments that felt like home. Michael appeared in the doorway, his expression thoughtful. I'm heading into the city for a meeting, he said. It's important. Important how? Maya asked without looking up. He hesitated. It's with 2 members of the board, old friends. They want to talk about the future of the company. Maya's hands paused in the soil. Meaning they want to talk about you keeping me here. Meaning they want to talk about everything, he admitted. And, yes, you'll probably come up. Then you know what they're going to say, she replied quietly. I know what they think, Michael said, stepping into the room. That's why I'm going. They need to hear it from me. He looked at her for a long moment. I'm not bending. He left soon after, his black sedan rolling down the long driveway. The air in the conservatory felt a little heavier without him there. That afternoon, Maya took Lily for a walk along the edge of the property. The sun was pale but bright, the sky a hard winter blue. They stopped by the pond, now partially frozen, and Lily leaned into Maya's side. Do you think Daddy's friends will be mean to him? She asked. Maya crouched to meet her eyes. Sometimes standing up for what's right means people don't like you. But if it's really right, it's worth it. Lily nodded solemnly, as if filing the lesson away. In the city, Michael's meeting was less civil than he'd hoped. The 2 board members, Harold and Vincent, were both older men who had known him since his 20s. Harold spoke first, swirling his whiskey. Michael, we've stood by you through riskier ventures than this, but publicly elevating your maid. She's not my maid, Michael cut in sharply. She's Lily's caregiver. She saved my daughter's life. Vincent leaned back in his chair, his gaze cool. We're not questioning her character. We're questioning your judgment. You're turning personal matters into public statements. It's a distraction. It's a principle, Michael shot back. And if this company can't stand on principle, then maybe it's not the kind of company I want to run. The rest of the meeting was a careful dance between veiled threats and polite refusals. By the end, Michael knew the cost of his choice. Some alliances would fray, but as he stepped out into the cold city air, he felt a strange lightness. The decision had been made. Back at the estate, Maya received an unexpected visitor. It was Mrs. Daniels, an elderly woman from the local church who had known Maya's mother. She brought a tin of homemade biscuits and a warm smile. I saw you on the news, Mrs. Daniels said. Your mama would have been proud. She always said you'd find a place where you were needed. Maya felt a lump rise in her throat. Some days it still feels like I'm just visiting. Like I could be told to pack my things at any moment. Mrs. Daniels patted her hand. Home isn't just a roof over your head, Maya. It's the people who'd notice if you were gone. That evening, Michael returned home later than expected. Lily was already in bed, but Maya was in the kitchen, cleaning up from dinner. He stopped in the doorway, watching her for a moment before speaking. They didn't like what I had to say, he admitted. Maya looked up. And you're okay with that? I'm not okay with losing friends, he said honestly. But I'm less okay with losing my integrity. He moved closer, his voice quieter. You matter here. I need you to know that's not changing. Maya studied him, seeing the fatigue in his shoulders but also the conviction in his eyes. You've changed more in 2 weeks than I thought possible, she said softly. He gave a faint smile. Maybe I just started seeing what was in front of me all along. The night was deep and still, when Maya checked on Lily one last time before heading to bed. The girl was fast asleep, her small hand curled around the stuffed rabbit Maya had given her years ago. Standing there, Maya felt something shift, not just in her place in the Harrington home, but in her own heart. The walls she had built to protect herself from loss and disappointment were starting to crack, just enough to let the light in. Outside, the frost glistened under the moonlight, the estate quiet and peaceful. But beneath that stillness, loyalties had been tested, alliances strained, and lines drawn. And though none of them could see the shape of the battles ahead, one thing had become clear. They were no longer just a billionaire, his daughter, and a maid. They were a family fragile, imperfect, and worth fighting for. The following week began with an unease that neither Maya nor Michael could quite name. The estate was quiet in a way that felt watchful, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. Michael spent more hours in his study, fielding calls that ended in clipped words and long silences. Maya noticed the change, but she didn't press him, not yet. On Tuesday evening, as Maya and Lily were finishing homework at the dining table, a faint echo of voices drifted from the hallway. The tone was low but sharp. the kind of controlled anger that meant trouble. Lily's pencil stilled in her hand. "Is Daddy mad again?" she whispered. Maya stood, resting a hand on the girl's shoulder. "Stay here, honey. I'll check." She stepped into the hall and followed the sound to Michael's office. The door was ajar, and through the narrow opening she saw him standing behind his desk, phone pressed to his ear. His voice was tight. "You're not going to threaten my family, Harold. Not in business, not anywhere." A pause. "Then do what you have to do." He ended the call abruptly and leaned against the desk, pinching the bridge of his nose. Maya knocked lightly before entering. "That sounded bad," she said gently. He looked up, exhaustion in his eyes. "The board's moving faster than I thought. Harold's rallying votes to push me into a temporary leave. They're using the press conference as an excuse, saying I'm distracted, unfit to lead right now." Maya felt a flash of guilt. "Because of me?" No," Michael said firmly, crossing the room to face her. "Because I didn't cave to their idea of what's acceptable. Don't twist that into something it's not." She searched his face, seeing the resolve there but also the weariness. "So what happens if they succeed?" He gave a humorless chuckle. "Then I lose the company for a while, maybe longer, but I won't lose Lily, and I won't lose you from this house." They were interrupted by the chime of the front gate. It was unusual for visitors at this hour, and the butler appeared moments later, his expression uneasy. "Mr. Harrington, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent." The visitor was a woman in her early 40s, her coat dusted with snow. She introduced herself as Denise Carter, a reporter from a local investigative paper. "I have information you need," she said, glancing around as though the walls might be listening. Michael hesitated, but something in her tone made him step aside. In the sitting room, she leaned forward. "This isn't just about the board's disapproval. One of them, Vincent, has been feeding stories to certain outlets, twisting the narrative. He's making it look like Maya has some hidden agenda. I've seen drafts of pieces they're planning to run. They're digging into her past, her family, anything they can spin against her." Maya stiffened. "Why? What do they think they'll find?" Denise looked at her directly. "It's not about truth. It's about perception. They'll paint you as someone climbing above her station to get to Michael's money, or as a risk to Lily's well-being." Michael's jaw tightened. "They won't print a word of it." "They will," Denise said, "unless you get ahead of it. And I don't mean another press conference. I mean real proof. Proof that Vincent's orchestrating this smear campaign." Michael leaned back, his mind already moving. "If we expose him, we can cut off the attack before it lands." That night, after Denise left, Maya sat by the fireplace, staring into the flames. "I can't let you lose everything over me," she said quietly. Michael stood in the doorway, his voice steady. "This isn't about losing. It's about protecting what matters. And that's not just the company, it's you and Lily." The next morning, Michael made calls to contacts outside the board's circle. He needed information, and he needed it fast. Meanwhile, Maya tried to keep life normal for Lily, though her mind churned with the reporter's warning. That afternoon, Maya and Lily went into town to pick up supplies for a school project. As they walked back toward the car, a voice called from across the street. "Maya, William?" She turned to see a man with a camera slung over his neck, his smile oily. "Care to comment on the rumors?" he asked, snapping a photo before she could respond. "What rumors?" she said sharply. "That you're more than just the nanny," he said, stepping closer. "That you've got the billionaire wrapped around your finger. Some say you've been planning this since the day you stepped into the house." Maya's chest tightened. "I don't owe you anything," she said, ushering Lily into the car. The man called after them, his voice carrying. "We'll find out the truth one way or another." Back at the estate, Michael's fury was immediate when Maya told him. "They're escalating," he said, "which means Vincent's getting desperate." That night, Michael met with an old friend from his early business days, a tech security expert named Roland. "I need you to track digital trails," Michael told him. "Find out who's leaking what and when." Roland's grin was wolfish. "If there's dirt to dig, I'll find it." For the next 2 days, the house felt like it was holding its breath again. Maya tried to keep her routines with Lily, but her sleep was restless, haunted by the thought of strangers digging into her life, twisting it for their own gain. On the third night, Roland returned with results. "Vincent's the source," he said, dropping a folder on Michael's desk. Emails, payments to a freelance gossip writer, and here's the kicker, a direct message to that photographer who harassed Maya in town. Michael flipped through the pages, his anger sharp but controlled. This is enough to bury him. Maya stood in the doorway, listening. She knew this fight wasn't over, not yet, but for the first time since the gala, she felt the balance shift. They had proof. Michael looked up at her, his expression resolute. We're going to end this. And when we do, no one will ever question your place here again. For a moment, the tension between them softened, replaced by something unspoken but undeniable. And as the fire crackled in the hearth, Maya realized they were no longer just defending against the world, they were preparing to fight back. The next morning broke cold and gray, the sky pressing low over the Harrington estate. Michael stood in his study. The folder of evidence spread across his desk like a war map. The emails, the bank transfers, the messages, all of it was enough to destroy Vincent's credibility, if handled correctly. But Michael knew that simply confronting him wasn't enough. This had to be public, undeniable, and final. Maya entered quietly, carrying 2 mugs of coffee. She set one down in front of him. You didn't sleep, she said, reading the fatigue in his face. Couldn't afford to, he replied. If we move fast, we can stop this before they release anything about you. Maya glanced at the papers, her jaw tightening. They're not just coming after me, Michael. They're coming after Lily's sense of stability. If these stories run, she'll hear whispers everywhere she goes. He met her gaze. That's why we end it now. He reached for his phone. Patricia needs to coordinate with a legal team. We go public with the proof tomorrow morning. Maya hesitated. And when Vincent realizes it was you who exposed him, Michael's mouth curved in a humorless smile. He already knows I'm the enemy. Let's give him a reason to regret it. Later that morning, Patricia arrived, her high heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. She took one look at the evidence and let out a low whistle. This is gold, she said. The moment this hits the media, Vincent's done. But she looked up at Michael, her expression cautious. It'll make the board a battlefield. You might win, or they might close ranks and push you out in solidarity with him. I'm not interested in saving my seat at the table if that table is rotten, Michael said flatly. Patricia nodded slowly. Then we go all in. While Patricia and Michael planned the release, Maya took Lily to the stables for an afternoon ride. The girls' laughter rang out over the frosty fields, but Maya's mind wasn't fully there. Every so often, she'd glance toward the horizon, as if expecting trouble to crest over it. As they returned to the house, she spotted a dark SUV idling near the gate. The windows were tinted, but she felt eyes on them. She led Lily inside quickly, telling herself it was nothing more than paranoia, yet the unease clung to her. That evening, Michael joined Maya in the kitchen while she prepared dinner. I need you to be ready for anything, he said. If this gets ugly, they might try to smear you harder before the story flips in our favor. Maya stirred the pot on the stove, her movements measured. I've been through worse, Michael. I can handle being called names. What I can't handle is Lily getting caught in it. He stepped closer. Then we protect her together. The next day began like the tightening of a spring. Patricia's media contacts were lined up. The legal team briefed, and the evidence ready to drop at precisely 9 a.m. Michael spent the early hours on calls, while Maya stayed upstairs with Lily, reading and keeping the girl away from the television. At 9:02, the first story hit the news wire. By 9:10, it was everywhere: online headlines, cable news tickers, even the morning radio chatter. The evidence against Vincent was laid out in brutal detail: payments to the gossip writer, direct coordination with the photographer, and internal emails discussing destroying the nanny's credibility. The reaction was immediate. Some reporters praised Michael for standing up to corruption in his own ranks. Others speculated about how the board would respond. But the most surprising turn came at noon. When Vincent himself appeared on a live interview, his face pale and drawn. This is a smear job, he insisted, voice tight. Michael Harrington has fabricated. The interviewer cut him off, reading one of the emails aloud. The damning words undeniably has left Vincent stammering. By the end of the segment, public opinion had shifted decisively. Back at the estate, Michael watched the broadcast with his arms crossed. "He's finished," Patricia said, almost in disbelief. "And the board knows it. I've already had 2 members call me, distancing themselves from him." Maya exhaled slowly. "So it's over?" Michael shook his head. "Not yet. A wounded man can still lash out. We stay alert." His caution proved right. That evening, as dusk fell, the dark SUV returned to the gate. This time, Michael went out to confront it. The driver's window rolled down, revealing Vincent himself. His eyes were bloodshot, his voice a rasp. "You think you've won, Harrington? This isn't over. You've made me desperate, and desperate men don't play by the rules." Michael didn't flinch. "You already stopped playing by the rules when you came after my family." Vincent's gaze flicked toward the house. "Family," he sneered. "That's what you call her? She's a liability, Michael. And when she drags you down, remember that I warned you." Michael stepped closer to the car, his voice low. "The only thing I'll remember is that you threatened the people I care about. Now get off my property." Vincent smirked faintly, as if savoring some private thought, then drove off into the night. Inside, Maya was waiting in the hallway, her arms crossed. What did he want? Michael met her eyes. "To scare me. But he's the one who's scared now." She didn't look convinced. "Men like him don't just walk away." "I know," Michael said quietly. "That's why we stay ready." That night, long after the house had gone still, Maya stood by Lily's bed, watching her sleep. She thought of the SUV, of Vincent's words, and of the fragile peace they'd fought so hard to build. Outside, the wind rattled against the windows, but inside, she made herself a silent promise. No matter what came next, she would not let this child or this home be torn apart. What none of them knew was that the real test hadn't yet arrived. Vincent's threat was more than a final jab, it was the opening move in a game that would push every bond in the Harrington house to its breaking point. 3 days passed without another sighting of Vincent's SUV, but the tension inside the Harrington estate didn't ease. Michael doubled the security at the gate and instructed the staff to report anything unusual. Maya kept Lily close, never letting her out of sight, though she hid her worry behind a warm smile. On the morning of the 4th day, trouble arrived not in the form of an open threat, but as a delivery 2 large, expensive flower arrangements sent to the front door. The butler assumed they were from Michael's business associates congratulating him on his victory against Vincent, until Maya noticed the small black envelope tucked among the roses. She opened it slowly. Inside was a single card with block letters printed in red ink. "You won the battle, the war's still mine." Michael read it over her shoulder, his jaw tightening. "Vincent," he muttered. "But how did he get them past security?" Maya asked. "He's testing the defenses, seeing how far he can push without crossing a line the police would act on." Michael took the card, his eyes cold. "He won't stop unless we stop him." That afternoon, Michael called Roland back to the estate. "If he's moving in the shadows, I want eyes on him at all times," he told the security expert. "Every call he makes, every meeting, every unexplained expense I wanted in my hands." Roland grinned. "Then we'll watch him like a hawk." While Michael strategized, Maya focused on keeping Lily's world as normal as possible. They spent the day in the garden, feeding the winter birds and reading in the greenhouse. But even in those quiet moments, Maya's mind kept circling back to the black envelope. That night, after Lily went to bed, Michael found Maya in the kitchen washing dishes. "I've been thinking," he said, leaning against the counter. "Vincent's trying to make this personal because he's lost the public fight. We need to flip it again, make his obsession with you look unhinged." Maya frowned. "You want to use me as bait?" "Not in danger," Michael assured her. "But in the open, in a way that makes him overreach. Once he does, we'll have him where we want him." The next day, Michael arranged for them to attend a charity gala in the city. The event would be heavily covered by the press, and Vincent wouldn't be able to resist making a move whether directly or through his network. On the evening of the gala, Maya stood in the foyer in a deep navy gown, her hair swept back, a quiet strength in her posture. Michael appeared in a black tuxedo, offering his arm. "Ready?" "As I'll ever be," she replied. The gala was held in a grand hotel ballroom, glittering with chandeliers and crowded with the city's elite. Michael and Maya's arrival drew a murmur from the crowd, cameras flashing as they stepped inside. Michael kept her close, guiding her through conversations with influential guests. all the while scanning the room for any sign of Vincent. Halfway through the evening, Patricia approached, her expression sharp. "He's here," she said quietly, standing near the bar, talking to a reporter from the Ledger. Michael's eyes narrowed. That's his favorite outlet for planting stories. Maya followed his gaze. Vincent was indeed at the bar, a glass of whiskey in his hand, his attention flicking toward them with calculated casualness. "Remember," Michael murmured to Maya, "we don't go to him, we let him come to us." It didn't take long. Within 20 minutes, Vincent strolled over, his smile all false charm. "Michael, Maya, enjoying the evening?" Michael's tone was cool. "We were." Vincent ignored him, focusing on Maya. "I must say, you clean up well. Almost convincing." Maya met his gaze without flinching. "Convincing enough to be here as Michael's guest. Convincing enough to be someone worth your time, apparently." His smile thinned. "You're playing a dangerous game." "So are you," she said evenly. "Difference is, I'm not the one who's already been caught cheating." For a brief moment, Vincent's mask slipped, and his eyes hardened. Then he leaned in slightly, his voice low. "You think tonight's about you. It's not. It's about reminding Michael that everyone he cares for can be touched." Before Michael could respond, a commotion broke out near the ballroom entrance. 2 security guards were wrestling a man to the ground, a freelance paparazzo known for selling scandal shots. The man's camera clattered across the marble floor, spilling memory cards. Roland appeared at Michael's side, speaking quickly. "That guy's on Vincent's payroll. He was trying to plant doctored photos in the press room." Michael's jaw tightened. "Get the police involved. Make sure the connection to Vincent is on the record." As the paparazzo was dragged away, Vincent stepped back, his smile returning. "Enjoy the rest of your night," he said smoothly, before melting into the crowd. The next morning, the headlines told the story exactly as Michael had hoped. Billionaire's former board member linked to staged scandal at charity gala. The photos of Vincent leaving the ballroom, his expression tense, only fueled the narrative. Public opinion swung even harder against him. Still, Michael didn't relax. "We've heard him," he told Maya over breakfast. "And that makes him more dangerous. This isn't over." Maya looked out the window at the frost-coated grounds, her coffee cooling in her hands. "Then we'll be ready when he comes again," she said. Neither of them noticed the small drone hovering high above the estate that morning, its lens trained on the house. Somewhere far away, Vincent was already planning his next move. The winter morning was unnervingly still, a kind of quiet that made even the creak of the old oak trees outside sound like an intrusion. Maya was in the kitchen making Lily's favorite cinnamon oatmeal when she caught a flicker of movement through the wide bay window. It wasn't the gardeners, they didn't come until later, and it wasn't a delivery. The glint was metallic, far above the hedges, too steady for a bird. It took her a moment to realize what it was, a drone. Her heart kicked hard. She set down the spoon, crossed the kitchen to the intercom, and paged Michael's study. "You need to come down here, now." When he appeared moments later, she pointed to the window. "Up there. Do you see it?" Michael followed her gaze, his eyes narrowing. "It's not ours," he said. "Vincent," Maya whispered. Michael didn't waste time. He called Roland, his tone clipped. "We've got unauthorized aerial surveillance over the estate. I want it down before it's out of range." Roland arrived within 20 minutes, carrying a specialized jammer. Within seconds of activating it, the drone sputtered in the air before dipping sharply and crashing somewhere beyond the north hedges. Michael grabbed his coat. "Stay inside with Lily," he told Maya before heading out with Roland. When they returned, Michael was holding a sleek black quadcopter with a high-definition camera attached. The SD card slot was empty. "He was streaming live," Roland said grimly. "No storage means whatever he saw went straight to another device." "What could he see from up there?" Maya asked. Roland's look was flat. "Everything." Michael set the drone on the counter and pressed his hands to the granite, his jaw tight. "He's not just watching. He's probing for a weakness. This is going to escalate." That evening, Michael doubled the guard patrols and had new motion sensors installed along the perimeter. But Maya could feel the unease seeping into the house like a draft. Even Lily seemed more subdued, sticking close to Maya and asking questions she couldn't fully answer. 2 nights later, the escalation came. Maya was tucking Lily into bed when a loud metallic clang rang out from somewhere near the east gate. She froze, listening. A second later, the house alarm blared. Michael's voice came over the intercom. "Maya, stay in Lily's room and lock the door." She obeyed, drawing Lily into her arms. Footsteps thundered below as security staff rushed toward the source of the disturbance. Through the upstairs window, Maya could see flashlights cutting across the lawn. It was over within minutes. The intruder dressed in black with a ski mask had been caught trying to cut through the gate's locking mechanism. In his pocket, they found a small USB drive. Roland examined it in the security room, his face grim. Encrypted. Could be anything: documents, photos, plans. Michael didn't wait to speculate. He called the police, ensuring the man was taken into custody and formally charged. But even as the patrol car pulled away, he knew this was a message. Later, in the study, Michael poured 2 glasses of scotch, one for himself, one for Maya. "This wasn't random," he said. "He's pushing to see how far we'll go, trying to make us slip, make us afraid." Maya held her glass but didn't drink. "I'm already afraid, not for me." She hesitated, then met his eyes. "If he can get someone onto the property, Michael, he can get to her. I won't let that happen," he said firmly. "I'd burn this entire estate to the ground before I let him touch her." The next day, news of the break-in hit the local media, though details were vague. The police hadn't released Vincent's name. There wasn't yet proof he'd ordered it, but Michael suspected it wouldn't stay that way for long. He spent the afternoon on calls with lawyers, pressing for the suspect's connections to be investigated. That evening, Patricia arrived unannounced. "I've been talking to some of my contacts," she said without preamble. "Vincent's not working alone. He's got at least 2 other former associates feeding him information and resources. If we want to end this, we can't just defend, we have to dismantle his network." Michael looked at Maya, then back to Patricia. "Then we take the fight to him." The plan took shape over the next 2 days. Roland would track every known associate. Patricia would work her contacts for leaks, and Michael would prepare a formal restraining order to make every move Vincent made look like a legal violation. On the 3rd night, they got their first break. Roland intercepted an email chain between Vincent and one of his allies, referencing a package scheduled to arrive at the Harrington estate. The language was vague, but the tone was unmistakable. This wasn't a gift. Michael insisted on waiting with the security team the next morning. At 10:17 a.m., a delivery van pulled up to the gate. The driver handed over a medium-sized box with no return address. Following protocol, they scanned it for explosives clear, but Michael wasn't convinced. He opened it with gloves, revealing a single framed photograph. Maya, taken from a distance through the glass of the greenhouse, unaware she was being watched. Lily's laughter was faintly visible in the blurred background. Maya felt her stomach drop when she saw it. "He's in my space," she murmured. Michael set the photo down carefully. "No," he said, his voice steel. "He's in our space, and now we make him regret it." That night, as the house settled into silence, Michael and Maya stood in the dim glow of the study. Outside, the frost shimmered under the security lights. They were both exhausted, but neither was willing to give in to the fear Vincent wanted to plant. Maya broke the quiet. "When this is over, will it really be over? Or will someone else just take his place?" Michael didn't answer immediately. He walked to the window, looking out over the grounds. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I do know this: no matter who comes, we'll be ready." Neither of them saw the faint light blinking from the tree line beyond the east fence, where another camera lens glinted in the dark. Vincent wasn't finished. He was just getting closer. The following days brought an eerie tension to the Harrington estate. Every rustle in the trees, every unexpected knock at the door set Maya's nerves on edge. The house was fortified like a fortress, but the real battle was in the minds of its inhabitants. Lily clung to Maya more than usual, her wide eyes searching for comfort in a world that suddenly felt unsafe. Maya did her best to shield the girl from the growing storm, filling their days with stories, games, and quiet moments in the greenhouse where the winter sun filtered softly through the glass. Michael, meanwhile, was locked in endless meetings with lawyers and security experts, trying to anticipate Vincent's next move. He barely slept, haunted by the possibility that his enemies could slip past every safeguard. One evening, As the family sat down for dinner, the housekeeper quietly approached Michael with a message. "There's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent." Michael frowned. "Send them in." The visitor was a young woman, eyes sharp and wary. She introduced herself as Elena Ramirez, a former associate of Vincent's who had broken ties with him months ago. Her arrival was unexpected, but the weight in her expression told Michael this was no casual call. "I know what Vincent's planning," Elena said without preamble. "He's not just after the company or the reputation. He wants to destroy everything you've built, especially your family. He's already got people on the inside." Michael's brow furrowed. "People on the inside?" Elena nodded grimly. "Someone close to you is feeding him information. He's been able to predict your moves, anticipate your defenses. If you want to stop him, you need to find the traitor before it's too late." Maya's eyes narrowed. "How can we trust you?" Elena met her gaze steadily. "Because I want the same thing. I want Vincent out of my life, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes." Michael studied Elena for a long moment, then gestured toward the study. "We need every detail you have." Over the next several hours, Elena laid out what she knew. Vincent's network was deeper and more insidious than anyone had imagined. He had planted moles in several businesses Michael was connected to, including some trusted staff members at the estate. Maya's stomach twisted as the pieces began to fit together. "That explains the leaks, the deliveries, the constant surveillance." Michael rubbed his forehead, exhaustion etched into his features. "We have to root out the traitor fast, before Vincent uses them to strike where it hurts most." They formed a small, trusted team: Michael, Maya, Elena, Roland, and Patricia. Each had a role: investigation, security, media control. But the weight of betrayal pressed on them all. In the days that followed, suspicion wove through the household like a poisonous thread. Staff members whispered behind closed doors, glances were guarded, and trust became a fragile commodity. Maya noticed the subtle changes in behavior, the hurried glances, the slight hesitations when questions were asked. One afternoon, Maya found a broken locket near the back staircase, a small but unmistakable sign. The locket belonged to Marie, the young personal assistant Michael had trusted for years. Maya's heart sank. She brought it to Michael immediately. "We need to talk." In the study, Michael looked grim. "Marie's been loyal to me longer than most, but loyalty can be bought." They confronted Marie that evening. Her denial was immediate, her voice shaking, but the evidence was mounting. Roland's digital forensics had found suspicious activity on her work computer: encrypted messages sent late at night, unexplained transfers. Under pressure, Marie broke. Tears streaming, she confessed to passing information to Vincent. "I didn't want to hurt anyone," she sobbed. "He promised he'd protect my family. I thought I was helping." Michael's disappointment was palpable. "You betrayed your family," he said quietly, "and nearly destroyed the one that trusted you most." Marie's apology was hollow in the face of the damage done. She was escorted off the property, her fate uncertain, but the breach had been closed for now. Despite the victory, the betrayal cut deep. Maya and Michael shared a quiet moment in the greenhouse, surrounded by the scent of blooming jasmine. "We're lucky we caught her before more damage was done," Maya said softly. Michael nodded, his gaze distant. "But Vincent's still out there, and now he knows we're onto him." Lily, unaware of the shadows creeping around her family, played nearby with a wooden horse. Maya watched her, the fierce protectiveness in her heart stronger than ever. As night fell, the house settled into uneasy silence. Outside, the wind howled against the windows, carrying with it the promise of storms yet to come. The battle for the Harrington family was far from over, and in the dark, unseen forces were already moving their pieces into place. The morning light filtered through heavy curtains as Michael sat alone in his study, the weight of the previous night pressing heavily on his shoulders. The revelation about Marie's betrayal had shaken him more deeply than he cared to admit. It wasn't just the breach of trust, it was the fact that Vincent's reach was wider, more insidious than they had imagined. His phone buzzed with an incoming message. He glanced at the screen, an encrypted text from Elena. "New info. Meet at the safe house, ASAP." Michael grabbed his coat and called Roland. "We're heading out. Keep an eye on the estate." At the safe house, a nondescript building on the city's outskirts, Elena awaited them. Her face was tense but resolute. We've traced some financial transfers linked to Vincent's network. They lead to a warehouse near the docks. Michael frowned. What's there? Elena pulled out a tablet, displaying surveillance photos of crates and vehicles. Smuggling operation, weapons, data drives, possibly more. Vincent's using it as a base to coordinate his attacks. Roland leaned in, zooming on a grainy image of a man unloading boxes. That's one of his top lieutenants. Seen him before on security footage. Maya, who had joined Michael and Elena at the safe house, clenched her fists. If he's armed, this goes beyond corporate warfare. Michael's voice was cold. We shut this down. Tonight. Back at the estate, Lily was playing quietly in the library. Maya sat nearby, her mind racing with plans and contingencies. She glanced at the clock. Time was running out. As dusk settled, Michael, Maya, Roland, and Elena prepared to leave. The plan was clear: approach the warehouse discreetly, gather evidence, and coordinate with law enforcement for a raid. The journey through the city streets was tense. The team spoke little, minds focused on the task ahead. Upon arrival, the warehouse loomed like a shadow, its windows dark and guarded by armed men. Roland and Elena checked their gear while Michael and Maya surveyed the perimeter. Security is tight, Roland whispered, but there's a blind spot on the east side. Maya nodded. That's where we'll enter. Moving under the cover of darkness, they slipped past guards and cameras, Roland disabling electronic sensors as they advanced. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of metal and oil. Rows of crates lined the space, some open, revealing weapons and stacks of encrypted drives. Voices echoed from a nearby office. Michael peeked inside. Vincent sat at a table, flanked by two men, speaking into a secure line. The conversation was a mix of threats and plans to escalate attacks on the Harrington estate and business interests. Elena signaled to Michael. We need to record this. Roland set up a discreet camera, capturing every word. Suddenly, a creak echoed behind them. A guard had discovered their presence. The team froze for a heartbeat before springing into action. Roland took down the guard silently, while Maya moved to secure the exits. Michael confronted Vincent's men, his voice commanding. You're under arrest. Police are on their way. Chaos erupted. Alarms blared, and lights flooded the warehouse. Guards scrambled, some fleeing, others drawing weapons. The team fought to maintain control until sirens sounded in the distance. As police stormed the warehouse, Vincent slipped away, disappearing into the night. Back at the estate, the team debriefed, exhausted but triumphant. The evidence collected was damning enough to dismantle Vincent's network and bring charges against his lieutenants. Maya looked at Michael, relief mingling with resolve. This is far from over. Michael nodded. But we've taken back the ground we lost. Now we protect what's ours. In Lily's room, Maya tucked the girl into bed, brushing her hair gently. No matter what happens, I'll keep you safe, she whispered. Outside, the city lights twinkled against the dark sky, a silent witness to the battle fought in shadows and the promise of peace yet to come. The early morning sunlight spilled into the Harrington estate with a soft glow, but beneath the calm facade, tension lingered like a shadow refusing to fade. The warehouse raid had been a resounding success, Vincent's network crippled, key operatives behind bars, and a mountain of evidence poised to dismantle his empire. Yet, the victory came at a cost no one had fully anticipated. Michael sat at the long dining table, staring blankly at his untouched breakfast. His face was pale, his eyes heavy with sleepless nights. The weight of leadership felt heavier than ever. Maya entered quietly, carrying Lily's school bag. She set it down gently and sat beside Michael, her gaze steady. You're tired, she observed softly. He managed a tired smile, and worried. Vincent's no fool. This fight isn't just about business, it's personal now. Have you told Lily? Michael shook his head. Not yet. I want her to feel safe. Maya nodded. She deserves that. The day passed in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and strategy sessions. The legal team was preparing the final documents to prosecute Vincent and his associates, while security tightened further around the estate. Yet, the intangible cost of the battle was starting to show. That evening, Michael found himself in the library, alone with his thoughts. The silence was interrupted by the soft footsteps of Maya and Lily entering the room. Lily ran to him, wrapping her small arms around his waist. Daddy, are you okay? Michael hugged her tightly. I will be, sweetheart. Maya watched the scene quietly before speaking. You don't have to carry this alone. Michael sighed. I'm not used to asking for help. You don't have to be. Days later, the estate's tranquility shattered once more. Maya discovered a package left on the doorstep, a box with no return address. Inside was a single item, a charred piece of wood, twisted and blackened. Attached was a note, scrawled hastily. This is what's coming next. Maya's heart pounded as she showed the note to Michael. His face darkened. They're escalating. Michael called an emergency meeting with his closest allies. Elena and Roland shared updates on increased surveillance and rumors of a planned retaliation. Patricia arranged for additional media coverage to control the narrative and keep the public informed of the threat against the family. Maya spent the next day organizing extra security for Lily's school run, arranging for trusted drivers and keeping a close watch on their surroundings. She felt the burden of protecting not just a child, but the fragile peace they'd fought so hard to build. One evening, as Maya put Lily to bed, the girl asked quietly, "Will the bad men ever stop trying to hurt us?" Maya kissed her forehead. "I don't know, sweetie, but I promise, I'll always be here to keep you safe." Oh. That night, Michael stood by the window, staring out into the darkness. The fight had cost him friendships, peace of mind, and a part of his innocence. Yet, the most profound loss was the realization that no amount of money or power could shield the ones he loved from harm. The next morning, an unexpected visitor arrived at the estate. Detective Harris, the lead investigator on Vincent's case. He carried a thick folder and a serious expression. "Michael," he said, "we have new information that changes everything." Michael gestured for him to continue. Detective Harris laid out the details of an underground network linked not only to Vincent but to several other powerful figures with vested interests in Harrington Holdings' downfall. The conspiracy was deeper than anyone had imagined, reaching into political and corporate spheres. Michael's fists clenched. How deep does this go? Farther than we can trace right now, but we're following every lead. The enormity of the battle ahead settled over the room like a storm cloud. That evening, Maya and Michael sat together on the terrace, the night air crisp around them. "We've won a battle, not the war," Michael said quietly. Maya nodded. "And whatever comes next, we face it together." As the stars glittered overhead, the Harrington family prepared for the fight of their lives, aware now that the true enemy was not just Vincent, but the shadowy forces willing to destroy everything to protect their own secrets. The chill of early spring crept into the Harrington estate, seeping through the windows and coaxing the garden's first buds to life. Inside, the atmosphere was anything but serene. The weight of the ongoing battle against the shadowy forces had forged a new kind of tension, one tempered by determination and a reluctant camaraderie born of shared trials. Maya found herself walking the halls with a new purpose. No longer just the caretaker or the maid, she was now a vital part of the family's defense. Her days were spent not only caring for Lily but also working alongside Michael and the team, coordinating security details, reviewing surveillance footage, and preparing for the challenges ahead. Lily, sensing the gravity that surrounded her, grew quieter but clung to Maya and Michael with fierce loyalty. Her laughter, once bright and frequent, was now a precious sound cherished by all. One morning, Michael called Maya into his study. The room smelled faintly of cedar and leather, a comforting scent amidst the chaos. He motioned for her to sit. "We're facing threats from all sides," he began. "But there's something else. Elena's uncovered a new lead, someone close to Vincent who's growing restless, possibly willing to turn." Maya leaned forward, the flicker of hope igniting. "An informant?" Michael nodded. "It's risky, but this could be the break we need." Together, they reached out to the contact through Elena, arranging a discreet meeting in a quiet cafe downtown. The informant, a nervous but determined man named Carl, arrived under the cover of early evening. Carl's revelations were chilling. Vincent's plans extended beyond corporate sabotage. He was orchestrating moves to undermine political allies and manipulate stock prices through fear and misinformation. More alarming, he had associates embedded within security agencies, able to delay or divert investigations. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. "He's playing a long game," Carl nodded. "And time is running out." Back at the estate, the team gathered to strategize. Patricia coordinated media responses to keep the public informed while managing the family's image. Roland intensified digital surveillance, hunting for any signs of the embedded operatives Carl mentioned. As weeks passed, the pressure mounted. Michael found himself balancing board meetings and crisis management with moments of tenderness shared with Lily and Maya. He watched as Maya's strength became a pillar for them both, a steady hand in the storm. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Maya and Michael sat by the fireplace. The flickering flames mirrored the intensity in their eyes. "We've come so far," Maya said softly. "But the price has been high." Michael reached out, taking her hand. "None of this would be worth fighting for if it wasn't for you and Lily. You're the heart of this family." Maya squeezed his hand. "And you're the courage that keeps us standing." Their moment was interrupted by a call from Elena. "We've identified one of Vincent's operatives within the company, a high-ranking executive funneling information." The revelation sent shockwaves through the household. Michael's expression hardened. "Prepare for confrontation." In the following days, the team moved swiftly. Meetings were held in secrecy, security protocols tightened, and loyalty tested. The executive, a man named Gregory Hale, was confronted with the evidence. His facade cracked under scrutiny, and he confessed, revealing further details of the conspiracy. With Hale's cooperation, the net began to tighten around Vincent's remaining allies. The family's world, once fractured and vulnerable, now moved toward unity and strength. One afternoon, Maya found Lily in the greenhouse, carefully tending to a budding rose bush. The girl looked up, her eyes shining with renewed hope. "Maya, do you think we'll be okay?" Maya knelt beside her. "I do, Lily, because we have each other." Outside, the estate basked in the soft glow of the setting sun, a symbol of resilience and the unbreakable bonds forged in fire. As night fell, Michael stood at the window once more, watching the stars. The fight was far from over, but for the first time in a long time, he felt something he hadn't allowed himself to hope for: peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the strength to face whatever came next, together. The days grew warmer as spring deepened, yet the warmth inside the Harrington estate was tempered by the weight of unspoken regrets and the slow healing of fractured bonds. Michael found himself drawn increasingly to quiet moments with Lily, seeking to make up for the years he had spent distant and preoccupied. One afternoon, he found Maya in the garden, pruning the rose bushes Lily loved so much. The scent of fresh blooms mingled with the earth, a reminder of growth and resilience. "May I join you?" he asked quietly. She glanced up, surprise flickering in her eyes before a small smile softened her features. "Of course." They worked side by side in silence for a few minutes, the only sounds the soft snip of pruning shears and the distant chirping of birds. Michael broke the quiet. "I owe you an apology." Maya looked at him, her expression cautious but open. "You don't owe me anything." "No," he said firmly. "I do. For the way I treated you before I saw who you really are. For doubting you, for letting pride blind me. I was wrong, and I'm sorry." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Thank you for saying that." He nodded, swallowing the lump in his throat. "You've been the strength this family needed, and I want you to know you're more than just Lily's caregiver. You're family." Maya reached out, placing a hand gently over his. "That means more than you know." Later that evening, Michael sat beside Lily's bed, reading one of her favorite stories aloud. As he closed the book, Lily looked up at him with wide eyes. "Daddy, will you always be here now?" He smiled, brushing her hair back. "Always, sweetheart, I promise." As she drifted to sleep, Michael felt a profound shift within himself, the beginning of a new chapter. Not just as a businessman or a father, but as a man learning what it truly meant to love and protect. The following days brought a cautious peace to the estate. Vincent's influence waned as arrests and prosecutions dismantled his network, though Michael remained vigilant, aware that shadows lingered where light barely reached. One morning, Maya discovered a letter slipped under the door of her quarters. It was unsigned, but the message was clear, a warning, thinly veiled, that the battle was not over. She showed the letter to Michael, who read it carefully, then folded it with deliberate calm. "We've faced worse," he said quietly, "and we've come through stronger." Together, they vowed to stand firm, united by the trials they had endured and the love that bound them. As spring blossomed fully around them, the Harrington estate transformed from a place of fear into a sanctuary of hope, a testament to the power of forgiveness, resilience, and the enduring bonds of family. The soft hum of spring filled the Harrington estate as flowers blossomed and birdsong echoed through the gardens. For the first time in months, the estate breathed a quiet serenity. But beneath this calm, healing was taking place not just in the grounds, but in the hearts of those who called this place home. Maya sat on the veranda, a book resting forgotten on her lap. Her eyes were fixed on Lily, who chased butterflies among the tulips with a carefree laughter. Maya had feared lost forever. The innocence of the moment was a balm to her weary soul. Michael joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. He handed one to Maya and settled beside her, their shoulders nearly touching. "It's good to see her smile like that," he said quietly. Maya nodded. "She's been through so much, but she's strong." Michael sighed, running a hand through his hair. "I've realized something over these past months." She looked at him, encouraging, that no amount of wealth or power can replace the simple acts of love and presence. "I was so focused on protecting her in my way that I forgot what she needed most was someone who just was there." Maya reached out, her fingers brushing his hand. "We both learned that." The conversation drifted to memories, some painful, others tender. Michael spoke of his regrets, his absences, and the walls he'd built around himself. Maya shared stories of her own struggles, her mother's lessons, and the fierce love that had guided her. As afternoon faded to evening, Lily ran up to them, cheeks flushed with excitement. "Daddy, Maya, come see. I planted a new rose for Mom." Michael and Maya exchanged smiles and followed her to a small garden plot. There, among fresh earth, stood a single delicate rose bush, its petals a vibrant red. Lily knelt beside it, placing her hands gently on the soil. "Mom would have loved this." Michael crouched down, his voice thick. "She would have." Maya stood beside him, a steady presence. Together, they watched Lily tend to the rose, a symbol of love, loss, and the promise of new beginnings. That night, as Maya tucked Lily into bed, the girl whispered, "Thank you for staying." Maya kissed her forehead. "I'll always stay, Lily. You're my family." Later, Michael stood on the terrace, gazing at the stars. The battle had tested them all, but it had also forged bonds stronger than any adversary could break. He thought of the journey ahead, still uncertain, still fraught with challenges, but he felt ready. Because now, he was not alone. The estate, once a fortress against the outside world, had become a home, a place where wounds could heal, where love could grow, and where the future, though unknown, held the promise of hope. The morning sun spilled softly across the polished floors of the Harrington estate, casting warm golden hues that danced through the large windows. Outside, the garden was alive with vibrant colors, the roses Lily had planted blooming proudly, as a testament to resilience and hope. Inside, the atmosphere was lighter, an almost tangible sense of renewal settled over the family. Michael stood by the window in his study, gazing out at the awakening world. His thoughts were quiet but purposeful. The turmoil of the past months had left scars, but it had also unearthed truths and forged new paths. He was determined to rebuild not just his company or his reputation, but the fractured pieces of his family. Maya entered quietly, a soft smile on her face. "Good morning," she said, setting down a cup of tea beside him. Michael turned, returning the smile. "Good morning. How's Lily?" "She's eager to start her day," Maya replied. "Planning a picnic for the garden." Michael nodded, the image warming him. "I want to talk about what comes next." Maya settled into a chair nearby, attentive. "We've weathered the storm," Michael began, "but I want this estate and our lives to be about more than just survival. I want it to be a place where Lily can grow, where we all can heal." She nodded. "A fresh start." "Exactly. And that means rebuilding trust, not just within these walls, but with the world outside." Maya considered his words. "You're talking about transparency, openness?" "Yes," Michael said. "I want to be an example that power isn't about control, but responsibility. That family means standing together, no matter what." They spent the morning planning a community event, a gathering to open the estate's gardens to neighbors and local charities. It was a symbolic gesture, but one loaded with meaning, a way to bridge the gap between privilege and community, past mistakes and future hopes. Later that afternoon, Lily led the way through the blooming paths, her laughter ringing clear as she welcomed neighbors and friends. Maya watched her with a heart full of pride, knowing this was the childhood Lily deserved, one filled with love, connection, and safety. Michael mingled with guests, sharing stories and listening more than speaking. He felt a subtle shift within himself, less guarded, more open to the possibilities that came with humility and grace. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the gathered crowd, Maya found Michael near the rose garden. "It's beautiful," she said softly. Michael looked at the roses, symbols of endurance and rebirth. "So are we." They stood side by side, watching Lily play with new friends, her smile a beacon of the family's journey. In that moment, the trials, the pain, and the victories all converged into a singular truth, that no matter the darkness faced, a new dawn always awaited those brave enough to seek it. And together, they would face whatever came next with strength, with love, and with unwavering hope. The estate was bathed in the soft hues of twilight, the sky a blend of lavender and deepening blue. Inside the grand Harrington mansion, the evening unfolded with a calm that belied the turmoil of months past. Yet, beneath the surface of this peaceful moment, a quiet reckoning was about to take place. Maya sat by the fire in the library, a worn, leather-bound book resting on her lap. The flickering flames cast shadows on the walls, dancing in time with the thoughts swirling in her mind. She was alone, at least. She thought so until the soft footsteps of Michael approached. He hesitated at the doorway before settling into the armchair opposite her, his gaze steady yet vulnerable. "I've been meaning to talk to you," he began, his voice low. "About everything." Maya closed the book, giving him her full attention. Michael took a deep breath. "When this all started, I was blind. Not just to you, but to myself. I was so wrapped up in my own pride and pain that I couldn't see what mattered." She nodded, encouraging him to continue. "I know I hurt you with my words, my actions, my stubbornness. I'm sorry." Maya's eyes glistened. "We've both been through a lot." He reached out, taking her hand gently. "You've been my anchor. Without you, I don't know where Lily or I would be." A silence fell between them, filled with unspoken emotions. "I've been thinking a lot about family," Michael said after a moment. "About what it means to truly belong somewhere." Maya squeezed his hand. "It's more than blood. It's trust, love, and standing together when it matters most." He smiled softly. "I'm learning that, thanks to you and Lily." The conversation drifted to lighter topics, memories of Lily's first steps, her stubborn streak, the small victories that made the hardest days worth it. As the night deepened, Michael stood and walked to the window, looking out over the estate bathed in moonlight. "I want to be better," he said quietly. "For Lily, for you, for myself." Maya rose, joining him at the window. "You already are." They stood together, two souls finding strength in shared vulnerability, ready to face whatever the future held. Upstairs, Lily slept peacefully, unaware of the quiet confessions that stitched the fragile fabric of her family closer together. In that stillness, hope blossomed anew, gentle, resilient, and enduring. The soft ticking of the old clock in the hallway marked the passage of time as night settled over the Harrington estate. Inside Lily's bedroom, the pale moonlight filtered through delicate curtains, casting gentle shadows on the walls adorned with childhood drawings and photographs. Maya sat by the bedside, cradling a small ornate music box in her hands. The delicate wooden casing was worn but lovingly maintained, its brass accents catching the moonlight with a soft gleam. It was a gift from Lily's mother, repaired by Maya long ago. And now, a treasured talisman of comfort and memory. Lily's eyelids fluttered as she stirred in her sleep, murmuring softly. Maya smiled, winding the tiny key and setting the music box to play its lullaby, a gentle, wistful melody that filled the room with warmth and nostalgia. As the music drifted through the quiet, Maya watched the rise and fall of Lily's chest, the peaceful expression on her face. It was moments like these that reminded her why every battle, every hardship, had been worth enduring. Downstairs, Michael paused by the staircase, listening to the faint strains of the music. He thought back to the night Lily was born, to the hope and fear that mingled in that moment. and to the journey that had led them here. He quietly made his way to the music room, where the family's old piano stood, a symbol of generations past and the ties that bound them. Sitting down, he let his fingers find the keys, playing the first few notes of the same lullaby. The melody filled the grand space, a bridge between past and present, sorrow and healing. It was a song of love, fragile, yet unbreakable. Back in Lily's room, Maya gently brushed a stray lock of hair from the girl's forehead. "This song has seen us through so much," she whispered. "And it will see us through whatever comes next." Outside, the night was still, the stars bright against the velvet sky. The estate, once a battleground of fear and suspicion, now felt like a sanctuary, a place where music, love, and hope intertwined. As the last notes of the lullaby faded, Maya sat quietly, holding the music box close, knowing that in the years to come, its melody would continue to be a source of comfort and strength for the family she had come to love as her own. The morning sun streamed gently through the grand windows of the Harrington estate, bathing every corner of the house in warm light. The air was filled with the scent of blooming jasmine and fresh earth from the garden, a tangible sign that after the long, harsh winter, life was ready to renew itself. In the heart of the estate, Lily ran through the hallways, her laughter ringing clear and free. She stopped by the kitchen where Maya was preparing breakfast, her eyes shining with excitement. "Maya, Daddy said we're having a picnic today." Maya smiled, brushing a stray curl from Lily's face. "That's right, a celebration for new beginnings." Michael entered just then, his presence calm and steady. He watched the two with a sense of peace that had eluded him for so long. The battles, the betrayals, the pain they had all led to this moment. "Ready to go, Princess?" he asked Lily, kneeling to meet her gaze. With a beaming smile, Lily nodded. "Ready." Outside, the estate was transformed into a scene of joy and community. Neighbors, friends, and colleagues mingled among tables laden with food, children played games on the lawn, and music drifted on the gentle breeze. The event was more than a simple gathering, it was a testament to resilience, healing, and the strength of family. Maya and Michael stood side by side, watching Lily join a group of children, her laughter mingling with theirs like a melody of hope. Michael took Maya's hand, squeezing it gently. "Thank you for everything." She looked up at him, her eyes warm. "No thank you, for choosing love over pride." Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. They had faced darkness and come through stronger, their bonds forged in fire and tempered by grace. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting the estate in a golden glow, Michael stepped forward to address the gathered crowd. "This estate has always been a symbol of legacy and strength," he began. "But today, it represents something even more important, the power of family, of forgiveness, and of hope. We are not defined by the challenges we face, but by how we rise above them." Applause rippled through the crowd as Michael's words settled into hearts. Later, as the guests began to depart, Maya knelt beside Lily, brushing grass from her dress. "How do you feel, sweetheart?" Lily looked up with bright eyes. "Happy, like we're really a family." Maya smiled, pulling her into a gentle hug. "We are. And we always will be." Michael joined them, wrapping his arms around both. In that embrace was the promise of a future built not on fear or division, but on love and unity. The Harrington estate stood as a testament not to the battles fought, but to the family reborn from the ashes of hardship. And as the stars began to twinkle in the deepening sky, the music box's gentle melody floated through the night, a lullaby for a family finally at peace. The key lesson from the Harrington story is the profound power of love, loyalty, and forgiveness in building and healing family bonds despite trials and societal injustices. Through the journey of Michael, Maya, and Lily, we see that fractures caused by prejudice, racial discrimination, or betrayal can be overcome when people are willing to reflect, prioritize genuine human connection over wealth and status, and embrace compassion. The story emphasizes that power and riches cannot replace sincere care, presence, and mutual protection within a family. Michael's humility in admitting his mistakes and fully accepting Maya as a true family member opens the door to hope and peace for all. Moreover, the tale warns of the dangers of hatred, bias, and jealousy, while inspiring courage to stand up for justice and truth even when facing formidable opposition and risk. In essence, the greatest lesson is this: love and unity within family form the strongest foundation for overcoming life's storms and injustices, guiding us toward a meaningful and hopeful future.